Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. For this video, we will be reviewing Timothy Zahn's Thrawn Ascendancy Chaos Rising. If you've been liking all this content, please do not forget, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you guys do not miss a video. As always, in the comments, if you have any books you want me to do reviews on in the future, please do not be afraid to leave those down there. Do not forget to follow me on social media. On Instagram, I am Riley Murray Book Reviews, and on Twitter, I am Riley T. Murray. I will leave links to both of those accounts down in the description so you can go check them out. You can also send me recommendations on Twitter and Instagram as well. If you missed my last video, which was ranking all the books I read in 2020, I will leave a link up to that video in the corner so you guys can go watch that video. So, with all that out of the way, let's hit the intro. Okay, so starting with the summary of the book here, our book takes place after a refugee ship has been attacked outside of what is known as the Ascendancy, the home of the Chiss. The Ascendancy leadership sends out their new and up-and-coming star, Thrawn, to check out and see what happened. Soon after starting Thrawn's investigation, he runs into a group called the Nikarden who are responsible for attacking the refugee ship. He's quickly brought into contact with the Nikarden's leader, Yiv, and the two of them engage in a deadly battle. Alright, so coming to the pros section of the video, I'm going to talk about Thrawn. So there are two main reasons I really like Thrawn. The first one is how Timothy Zahn actually writes Thrawn throughout the entire story. Thrawn is a very, very interesting character because he isn't like any other Star Wars villain who are more typical villains. Thrawn isn't. He is intelligent, like one of the most intelligent people in the entire Star Wars universe. And the reason he's so intelligent is because he doesn't think like anyone else. The way Thrawn thinks is he uses a culture's art, their history, their culture itself to figure out their weaknesses and to use those weaknesses against them. We haven't really had that in Star Wars. The other villains we've had, like Maul, Vader, Dooku, and all those guys, they have been typical villain. But Thrawn is much smarter than any of them. So second reason I really like Thrawn is also contingent on how Timothy Zahn writes him. And Timothy Zahn actually writes Thrawn pretty relatably for an alien. Weirdly, you sympathize and understand Thrawn through Timothy Zahn's writing. And the reason that is he's trying to figure out, okay, what the heck happened with this refugee ship? And he's willing to do whatever it takes to protect the Ascendancy. That strong sense of, like, I need to protect my people is everyone can get behind that because it's a very universal thing. You want to protect your home world. So it's very relatable in that Thrawn wants to get this done. And his sort of, like, almost maverick attitude is also what really endears him because he's doing things that the Ascendancy leadership does not like. And Thrawn is more or less clueless. He's clueless or just doesn't care what they think. And that sort of endears him to us. You know he's doing the right thing and everyone else around him is being just super bureaucratic about it. And it's kind of fun to just see Thrawn get his way, even though the Ascendancy leadership does not like it. Okay guys, so coming to pro number 2, we have the different side of Star Wars that this book shows. So I really like this book because it expands into a lot of stuff that the movies and the TV shows and even the video games don't cover. As a Star Wars fan, happy that Zahn continues to bring in the Ascendancy and these new political groups that we don't necessarily know a whole lot about and don't get a lot of coverage in the main series because the movies are telling their own story and it doesn't necessarily intersect with any of the book stuff. So you would only know any of this if you read the books. So it's really good that Zahn is putting so much effort into showing all of this stuff, and I really appreciate Zahn putting in the effort to explain the the political side of the Ascendancy. And Zahn does the political side of the Ascendancy super well, because if that's done wrong, political stuff can seem super boring, but Zahn is able to find a balance between keeping the story moving forward and giving us all the background information we need. So I really think Zahn did a really good job expanding the lore of the Ascendancy and Star Wars in general. So coming to pro number 3 is the side characters in this book. So not only does Zahn do a really good job writing Thrawn, he also does an incredible job writing the side characters. That's very good, because sometimes side characters can just come off as unneeded and unnecessary, but not in this book. Zahn makes each of the side characters an integral part of Thrawn's development through this entire book, and I really, really appreciate that Zahn was able to do that. So some of the examples of this is the relationship between Thrawn and Admiral Arlani, one of the other chists that is really heavily involved in this book. As we're reading the book, they have some really funny and witty banter that I find absolutely hilarious sometimes, and it's really fun to just see Thrawn act the two bouncing off of each other. It's really fun to read. Zahn does a very good job writing the dynamic between Arlani and Thrawn, which I find really fun. So two of the other side characters that are very important to this book are Chari and Thalis, who are two members of Thrawn's crew during his journey. So Thalis and Chari actually have this sort of mother-daughter relationship, because Chari is what's called a Skywalker. Their section of space is very hard to navigate through, so they use these girls called Skywalkers to help navigate the Ascendancy, and Chari is one of them. And Thalis is Chari's what they call guardian, who is basically a glorified babysitter for each of the Skywalkers. But throughout the book, Thalis was a former Skywalker, so she knows a lot of what Chari is going through. So it's good to see this mother-daughter dynamic continue through the book, because Thalis can empathize a lot with what Chari's going through, because, like I said, she was a Skywalker also. So it's very good to just see this mother-daughter relationship being built out throughout the book. So another really good relationship in this book is also Chari and Thrawn, because Thrawn takes Chari under his wing and teaches her how to fly a starship while they're in this side quest part of the story. So that dynamic is really interesting too, because Thrawn takes this very shy girl, and when Chari is really, really uncertain about flying, Thrawn just is hey, I'm gonna teach you how to fly, and you're gonna be great at it. And it's really good to just see a different, more human side of Thrawn, and that he's very compassionate and wants to help people get better. So that relationship also is a very key part of this book, and I feel like Zahn, as always, did a very good job writing it. So for pro number 4, I'm going to talk about Thrawn's future in Star Wars. So honestly, I am super excited to see Thrawn in Star Wars, and there was a very particular reason why I chose to review this book when I did. Because a couple weeks ago in The Mandalorian, they brought up Grand Admiral Thrawn, and everyone just lost their minds, because Grand Admiral Thrawn hasn't been really mentioned in Star Wars in the main series. He was in one of the cartoon shows, Star Wars Rebels, but he disappeared, and we haven't seen him ever since. So it's really good for The Mandalorian to be acknowledging that Thrawn is still out there. And I am really going to try and review the rest of the Thrawn series before Thrawn becomes the next really main villain for Star Wars, which I and basically the rest of the community are fairly sure is going to happen. So I'm going to try and get Thrawn's story out before he actually becomes a very big, important part of the Star Wars lore, and the casual fans finally start to understand who he is. So coming to the cons section here, I want to talk about the memories section of the book. So these memories sections are sections of the book between each of the chapters that go back and cover what led to whatever is happening within the main story itself. The problem with this is I feel like it breaks the flow of the story. I mean, it's good to get the background, but I don't think it needed to break the flow of the story so much. I feel like Zahn could have slipped a lot of this in within the dialogue and not have to completely break the flow of the story to show us an entire section of of something that really isn't totally relevant, and that's the other thing. You could pretty much read this book and skip the memory sections entirely, and you'd be fine, and you wouldn't lose anything from the main story. You just miss the background of how it led there. But that in and of itself isn't totally necessarily important. So I feel like these memory sections really break the flow of the story really more than it needed to. And I just think it really didn't need to be there. Okay guys, so coming to my final thoughts on the book here, I really very much did enjoy this book. I think Zahn did an incredible job writing Thrawn. He made him super relatable and interesting to follow around, and I am really looking forward to what happens next for his character in the next couple of books that come forward. And I really think Zahn did a really good job even with the side characters. They were really memorable and had a lot of good story arcs that connected to Thrawn and made Thrawn more relatable as he was interacting with each of them. As always, more Star Wars lore that isn't necessarily in the movies is always good with me. As always, I'm a big Star Wars fan and love seeing new stuff in the Star Wars universe. And this book is highly recommended to any Star Wars fan you know, because like I said before, Thrawn might be the next really big villain that comes into live action, so you probably want to know his story before he actually does. So I'm going to give Timothy Zahn's Thrawn Ascendancy Chaos Rising an 8 out of 10. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you do not miss a video. In the comments, if you guys have books you want me to review in the future, please leave those down there. And I will also be taking Star Wars questions down in the comments, so if anyone's got any questions about Star Wars, feel free to leave them in the comments and I will answer them. Also, if you have read this book before and want to discuss, leave your review of the book down in the comments. Don't forget, follow me on social media. On Instagram, I am Riley Murray Book Reviews, and on Twitter, I am Riley T. Murray. I'll leave links to both of those accounts down in the description. On both of those accounts, you can also recommend me books. So next week we will be jumping back to Heroes of Olympus with Mark of Athena. So I will see you guys all next week. Till then, have a great week, and don't forget, keep on reading.